Hi there, I'm Gus and this is Wiseguss Illustration. In this video, I'm going to invite you to draw with me. In this new section, we're going to draw together. I'm going to invite you to take your paper and pencil and draw with me. In this new section, I'm not going to invent anything, I'm not going to interpret anything. I'm simply going to take my reference and I'm going to try to draw it as similar as possible to it. In today's video, I want to draw Leonardo from the new Ninja Turtles movie. So are you ready? Come draw with me. Before I start, I want to take some mind notes about where every part of the picture is going to be. I know the sword is going to be around here, so the head is going to be around this point. As always, I will start my picture using simple shapes, in this case mainly rectangles. The head, for example, is an elongated rectangle, a little bit tilted. The measure of the trunk of his body is around 3 heads. Which is approximately the same as the size of his legs. A couple lines help me find the angle of the legs. And then I can find all the shape of his legs. But I recommend you to try using simple shapes. In this case, rectangles could be the shape to go. I'm using mainly simple shapes for the arms, in this case, mainly rectangular shapes. Both feet finish in and around the same line. Here I show you how you can use more rectangular shapes, simpler shapes, to create the shape of the legs. I also use simple shapes for his arms, again mainly rectangles. Something to keep in mind is the angles. It means how vertical or horizontal something is in the body. Something to keep in mind is that I use everything that I had before from my drawing as reference for what I'm going to do next. In this case, I know that the elbow is a little bit outside of the rectangle of the body, so I draw it right there. The forearm is a little bit narrower at the end, and the hand is almost a square. At this point, it's very important not to let myself be distracted by little details. I am thinking only about the volumes. In the left arm, I notice it is closer to the leg than it is to the arm, and also it is quite tilted. I'll start the sword with just one line to make sure that every part of the sword matches together. In the hilt area, we notice it looks very three-dimensional, so we can see the sides. Because this is a three-dimensional object, I need to keep in mind that some parts are going to turn to the sides. But I don't need to draw this in this stage. This is something to keep very much in mind when you draw this kind of objects. But also you can keep your draft very simple, like I did in the sword that is in the back. Now I have all, or at least most of the shapes that I'm going to need for my drawing. So this is a good moment to start thinking about details. I will start by dividing the different parts of the drawing. In this point, I'm going to start drawing more complex shapes. I start observing more the different curves that make up the different shapes of the body. And I'm going to start creating smaller volumes inside the bigger volumes that I had before. Keep in mind that we are still in the sketch stage. We are just trying to create the shapes that we need for the drawing. As I start drawing Leo's right leg, it is at this point where the drawing stage formally starts. It is now that I need to observe how every part that composes his body and all the elements that he has actually look. Every little curve, every part that comes in and out, everything that is straight or curved. This is the right moment to start observing everything in detail. To mention about his right leg, for example, about his legs, is how we are going to see some parts that go bigger, then smaller, then bigger again. And that's why we see in his, for example, in his thigh, we see that his side is very broad, and then the knee is going to be very small, and then in the lower part of the leg is going to be bigger again, and then it's going to be very small, and then it's going to get bigger again for the elbow. So every part is going to be a rhythm of curves. If we observe, we notice that he is not looking directly at us, but we see that his face is a little bit turned to the right. Right in the intersection of the two guidelines, I'm going to draw a little curve for the snout. Right next to that, another curve for his cheek, and then the rest of his mask. You can see how the top line of the mask is a very aggressive curve. His mouth is a simple curve that ends downwards. His eyes are mostly squared, but the curves that simulate the eyebrows made them look even more aggressive. After that, I can round some parts and draw some details. I can even draw the flowing fabric of his mask. In this case, I draw them using mostly straight lines. We see the strap that holds the sword. Next to his shoulder, we can see it very well, we can see it very broad. But in the back, we can only see a little line. I draw the hilt as a rectangular prism. For that, I'm going to draw an inverted L shape, and then I'm going to draw lines going upwards. I'll do the same for the pommel, that in this case I'm going to draw as a cube. Inside the top of the cube, I'm going to draw a smaller square, and I'm going to join the ends of this and the base to form kind of a pyramid shape. When drawing the hand that is holding the sword, I draw the two knuckles and a part of his thumb. We see how the top and bottom curvature of his hand basically wrap around the hilt of his sword. Like in his legs, we see parts that go wider and then narrower, creating a nice flow, especially in their elbow and in the wrist. We only don't notice these areas because they are covered in bandages. We see how in the highest part of his arm, we see the deltoids in the shoulder, and then the triceps. We can see how his triceps gets embedded into the deltoid. In the rectangular shape that I had for his belt, I drew an oval and a rectangle. The oval is going to be his badge, and the rectangle the buckle. I draw his left arm using 3 rectangles that represent his fingers. The one in a different position is the thumb. We're going to draw the sword later. His toes are rectangular prisms. I will use the top of that rectangular prism to locate the toenail. Keep in mind that the hilt is also a rectangular prism. For the pommel, I'm going to draw the L shape, and from there I'm going to draw lines that go narrower until the end. Now I'm going to draw another L shape for the guard. And for the blade, I'm going to use almost straight shapes, a little bit curved, and a slanted line for the tip. Now I'm going to use my moldable eraser to erase, or in this case to soften, all the drawing. You have to be very careful in this step. You don't want to erase something too much that you lose details. As a final step in my drawing stage, I'm going to use my black color to draw on top of all the pencil lines. This step can be very useful for different things. Number one, we're going to have a cleaner drawing, ready for coloring. And number two, we can use the black color to show the darkest areas in the picture. You can also use this stage to improve some details in the picture. If you decided to draw with me, I really would like to see your results. I hope you like this video and that you learned something from it. If you like this video, please like it, subscribe, but most importantly, share it with somebody that can find it useful. Always keep drawing. See you in the next video. Adios.